Up above our heads, the International Space Station is orbiting the Earth at an incredible speed of 28,000 kilometers an hour. Since 2000, the station has been manned by astronauts from the USA, Europe, Canada, Russia and Japan, who conduct science experiments to allow us to understand gravity as a variable and life in its absence. While most experiments are conducted with the vision of going to Mars, work on the ISS has benefited life on Earth as well. This includes cutting-edge medical research, tracking of ships on the ocean, and disaster relief using imagery technology. For the purpose of this video, we will focus on how the International Space Station environment has contributed to human health. It's totally out of this world. The human body has been intensively researched on the ISS. Scientists attempt to understand how astronaut bodies are affected during long missions, particularly their bones and muscles. On Earth, our bones are constantly growing and changing and undergo remodeling. Osteoclasts are cells which are responsible for breaking down our bone and removing damaged parts. Simultaneously, osteoblasts are cells which are responsible for forming new bone and replacing damaged areas. This process of remodeling is regenerated when we do physical activity and exercise. In space, astronauts experience weightlessness and therefore do not have that stress or stimulus on their bones. Scientists believe that to adapt to microgravity, bones increase the rate at which they break down, but the rate at which they form remains constant. This causes an imbalance of the remodeling process. A loss of bone mass results and parallels with osteoporosis, a common bone wasting disease among elderly and long-term bedridden patients. However, astronauts experience osteoporosis at a much faster rate, losing up to 1% of their bone mass every month. This is what someone with osteoporosis experiences in 1 year. The early detection of osteoporosis in space experiment looks at the changes to astronaut bone structure. The results of this experiment are not only important for deep space missions, but also for detection of osteoporosis on Earth. Research such as this has resulted in technological advances such as high-resolution scanners which are able to assess the microscopic architecture of bones. These scanners are not only used to study astronaut bones, but the bones of patients suffering from bone diseases as well. Also, to conduct research such as this on Earth would require subjects to be incredibly inactive and avoid using their bones at all. Dr. Stephen Boyd, together with the Canadian Space Agency, has designed an experiment called T-Bone, which is another experiment looking at the changes in bone structure using high-resolution 3D imaging technology. He says that what we can learn in 6 months of spaceflight would take us a decade on Earth. To combat the negative effects of microgravity, astronauts must exercise up to 2.5 hours every day, consume vitamin D, and have an adequate diet. There are 3 ways of exercising on the ISS. First, a treadmill, which provides resistance using elastic ropes, a bike with no seat as it is impossible to sit in space, and lastly, the advanced resistive exercise device, which enables astronauts to perform bench presses and squats in space. When a patient is diagnosed with osteoporosis, lifestyle changes are made. This includes exercise and increased vitamin D intake. In more severe cases, bisphosphonate medication is consumed, exactly what astronauts do in space to help maintain their muscle and bone mass. While the exercise routines currently implemented in space are very effective, there is focus on how tweaking these exercises could provide maximum results. Improving effectiveness of these methods has the potential to translate to treatments on Earth and improve quality of life for patients. There are more than 100,000 proteins in the human body and a further 10 billion in nature. Each has its own unique structure that is closely related to its function. Therefore, being able to study protein structure is very important. However, due to gravitational interference, proteins are difficult to analyse on Earth, and it has been found that protein crystals grown in space have fewer imperfections. Thus, these crystals have become an area of study on the ISS. In microgravity, proteins form orderly, high-quality crystals, allowing for easier analysis. The purpose of the protein crystal growth experiment is its contribution to the medical world. Currently, the exact structure of some proteins are unclear and computer-generated structures are used instead. indicating what the structure should be like. By utilising the ISS microgravity environment, researchers can study the exact structures, including proteins of diseases. By studying the folding and structures of disease proteins, drugs and treatments can be developed which will fit this structure of a disease exactly, like two pieces in a jigsaw or a key in a keyhole. Drugs are developed to suppress the disease and bind proteins so that they can no longer function. In March this year, stem cells were brought to the ISS for study. Stem cells have phenomenal potential because of their pluripotent nature, which allows them to form into any cell type. They can be used to treat disease that have caused cell function to diminish or cell death. By putting them into the human body, they can regrow or regenerate these cells. However, growing cells in the lab is incredibly long-winded, which is a difficult reality to deal with, considering some treatments require up to 200 million stem cells. Abba Zabai is a medical and scientific director at the Cell Therapy Laboratory at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, America. He says that stem cells are inherently designed to remain at a constant number, and we need to grow them faster, but without changing their characteristics. Zabai discovered from stimulated experiments that stem cell growth should accelerate in microgravity. To test his hypothesis, he sent them to the ISS earlier in March this year. The microgravity expanded stem cell investigation looked into the study of stem cell growth and other characteristics they may have in microgravity. At the end of March, the experiment was sent back to Earth and tested by Zabai to determine the effectiveness of the space-grown stem cells in treating disease. Despite the many applications of stem cells, his main interest is their utilisation in treatment of stroke patients. The results of this experiment will be useful to research regarding stem cells and expand on existing knowledge. They will potentially improve stroke therapies and provide insight into treatment and prevention of some cancers. The results of the experiment have not yet been published as it was only conducted recently. The NeuroArm is a robotic arm that is able to perform surgery on patients while they are still inside an MRI scanner. The technology of the NeuroArm actually originates from space. In 2001, Canada contributed the 10-metre Canadarm to the ISS to assist astronauts during spacewalks. Their composition materials are the link between these two robotic arms. To develop surgical equipment such as the NeuroArm, surgeons needed materials that wouldn't interfere with MRI imaging, let alone withstand the magnetic field. The Canadarm provided them with the solution, as its composition, which made it spaceworthy, allowed the NeuroArm to operate inside an MRI. According to the book Benefits for Humanity, the NeuroArm makes difficult surgeries easier and impossible surgeries possible. This is because of its dexterity, precision and steadiness. Our hearts work against gravity to distribute fluids around the body by pumping away from the legs. However, when astronauts are in space, microgravity causes increased fluids in the upper body, resulting in an increased pressure in the head. Scientists believe that this intracranial pressure results in vision impairment. The optic nerve behind the eye swells, causing flattening and squeezing of the eyeball. Consequently, astronauts may become short-sighted or experience blurry patches, also known as cotton wool spots. NASA wants to understand this phenomenal vision impairment to help develop prevention methods. This may help understand and prevent similar vision changes on Earth. Another great contribution from the ISS is the eye tracking device. When our eyes are fixed on a certain point, a reflex in our bodies allow our eyes to remain focused. To maintain balance, the brain communicates with the inner ear to keep our vision stable and uses gravity as a reference. The eye tracking device was developed for use aboard the ISS to determine if this reflex is affected by weightlessness. The eye tracking device comprised of a non-invasive headset fitted with image processing chips that could track the eye. The results showed that yes, this reflex is affected by microgravity. Today, this device is used all over the world in laser surgery, such as LASIK and PRK, which are common surgeries used to correct eyesight. This device is also useful as it is non-invasive and therefore doesn't disrupt the surgeon's work. Nitric oxide is a common air pollutant found almost everywhere and is released by vehicles and industrial processes. It is also released by inflamed human tissue, such as inflamed lungs caused by asthma. The ISS weightless environment causes dust particles to float. This may cause astronauts to breathe in dust particles, potentially resulting in airway inflammation. To assist in early detection, the European Space Agency developed a small, accurate device which could measure the levels of nitric oxide in exhaled air, allowing for early detection before the inflammation became a health concern. This device is now known as NIOX Mino and is used to assist with asthma control on Earth. It is used to obtain quantitative measurements of airway inflammation, meaning that the appropriate dosing of medication can be issued according to the levels of nitric oxide indicated by the device. This improves efficiency of medication as well as reduced attacks. NIOX Vero is a further development of NIOX Mino, and while it is not used in Australia, it is one of the most used devices all over the world for measuring airway inflammation in clinics. The International Space Station provides humanity with many contributions to human health. The need to support astronaut health and combat the effects of microgravity have opened up areas of research which are analogous to situations here on Earth, such as osteoporosis, muscle atrophy and vision impairment. The microgravity environment has also been utilised by many scientists to analyse protein structures and biological functions such as stem cells to develop new drugs and treatments for disease. Technology aboard the ISS has also contributed to humanity, including the NeuroArm, the eye tracking device, and the asthma controlling device, NIOX Mino. So next time you see the ISS whizzing across the sky, be sure to remember the contributions and the potential the ISS has to offer our home planet Earth.